Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Legend 3245 video where we are back with some more roster editing. So, with that being said, I think we're ready to start streaming. We've given the link to all people that I needed to get the link to. Maybe just one last person. Alright. Alright, let's get the stream started, everyone. So, last episode we obviously created Seattle. This episode we've got some trades / other stuff to do. So first of all, Shane Gottspear went over to Arizona. Goes to Spear. From Philadelphia, we went over to Arizona today. So we're going to be changing that up. So from Philadelphia, Shane Gottspear. We'll go to Arizona. There we go. And also there was one more move, which was Alex Nedeljkovic to Detroit for Jonathan Bernier, which was a steal of a trade for Detroit, in my opinion. Jonathan Bernier, and here you have Alex Nedeljkovic. There we go. That's already two trades there. All right, and now let's get back to roster editing. So, last episode, we left off on Los Angeles, meaning we're on Minnesota now. So, let's look at Minnesota roster. Minnesota Wild roster. And let's see if there's anyone we gotta add. Oh yeah, Matthew Boldy. Right, of course. I don't know. He should be in the AHL, I would say. Actually, no, because he's in Boston College. So I think we'll have to make Matthew Boldy. All right, then we'll make Matthew Boldy. Here we are. Let's make Matthew Boldy in the game. Not player movements. We gotta go to creation zone. Create player. Matthew Boldy. So yeah, let's do that right now. All right. So first name Matthew. Matthew Boldy. Let's see if they have Boldy already in here as a play-by-play name. Not sure why they would, but we can try Boldy. Bodie, but not Boldy. Yeah, no Boldy, which means we'll do Bodie, I guess. It's pretty close, I guess. Matthew Boldy should be a playmaker. He is a left wing. We don't really care about his jersey number. What we do care about is his pro team, Minnesota. and Minnesota, and the year he was drafted was 2019, 12th overall. 2019, 12th overall. Salary, given him a basic salary. 2-way, 3 years. On to shoots left. We don't really care about shot style. His height is 6 feet. His weight is 194 pounds. His birth year is 2001. His birthday is April 5th. He comes from Millis, MA, Massachusetts, I believe that would be. Millis. Matthew Boldy. Yeah, Millis, Massachusetts. I guess we'll just put Massachusetts because we know Massachusetts is in the game. After that, we'll put USA. USA, there we go. And now on to just attributes. So, Matthew Boldy, I think he should be medium elite. But he should have a lower overall as he isn't really that close to the NHL quite yet. So I think we would have him as a 73 overall. $74 overall for Matthew Boldy. And he is also going to be in Minnesota.
Okay, make sure you switch off the.
Yeah, okay. Next up is the other player, Marco Rossi. Not sure. Maybe I could find him in the OHL. It's worth a shot. And try editing him in the OHL and sending him straight to his team. OHL here, he would be on the Ottawa 67s. Ottawa 67s, Marco Rossi. There he is. I would say high top six because we know he has a potential. He is nowhere close to the NHL quite yet. We'll make him 70 overall. And that's pretty much it for him. We'll make him 70, 71 overall. And he'll just grow. Yeah, he'll just pretty much grow. Yeah, 72 overall for Marco Rossi. And I'll send him over to the AHL team, given that I can't really, technically he hasn't been drafted. So we'll just get him over to, from the OHL, he'll be going over to Minnesota. And by Minnesota, I mean Iowa. Because that's the AHL team of the Wild. So, and his team was the Ottawa 67s. We already knew that. Now we can just select Marco Rossi and get him as Minnesota Wild property. There we go. Marco Rossi is now done too. 72 overall for him. Next up is Nico Sturm. He should be in the HL, in my opinion. Might even be in the NHL, but let's check Iowa first because I think it's most likely where he actually is Iowa Wild. Nico Sturm, what do you have to say for yourself, buddy? And he is actually not even here. So that means he's probably in the NHL roster. So let's just see what his overall is. Minnesota right over here. Nico Sturm. He's already up to 80 overall, so I think that's already good. I think that's good for Nico Sturm. So then next would be Jordan Greenway. Actually, I kind of already made Jordan Greenway quite good. Yeah, 84 overall. Maybe Kalen Addison right over here. Another good draft pick, I guess. And I think I would find him in the WHL. So let's go find Kalen Addison. Who played 3 games in the NHL and 31 games in the AHL. He was in the WHL, and he was playing for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. There he is, Kellen Addison, right? Just like that. So, Kellen Addison here is pretty good. Maybe let's make him high top 4D. And then let's buff his overall up, as it seems he's pretty close to the NHL now. Maybe like a 75 overall. Just like that, 75 overall for Kalen Addison. And let's get him over to Iowa Wild. So the first thing is WHL, Lethbridge Hurricanes get Kalen Addison. And then go to the AHL, go to Iowa Wild. Oh, Iowa! I've got a new present for you. And then we'll just send him over. And then we just have Minnesota Wild as his affiliation. And just like that, he's in the AHL. That is wonderful. Next up on the list, Kyle Rao might be someone. No, he's 28. Doesn't matter. Luke Johnson, 26. Guess he doesn't matter then, really. Connor DeVar, okay, 22. Third round pick. Not bad. Definitely, well, I wouldn't say he's close to the NHL, but definitely could use a bit of a boost. In terms of overall, I wouldn't touch his potential unless it's like really, really bad. So here we go. Iowa. Yeah. Here he is, the man, the legend. Oh, that's not Kyle. That's Kyle Rao. I meant Connor DeVar right over here. I think its potential is fine. Just needs a bit of an overall boost to like 70, 72 overall. Already makes him a 71 overall. Yep, 74 overall for Connor DeVar. Next up would be Dakota Mermis, who is 27, so I guess that doesn't really matter as much. Okay, so Dakota Mermis is not actually a prospect. Next up, Hunter Jones. Now, Hunter Jones is a great goaltender prospect. So, I think if he's not in the game, I will create him. And it does seem as though he is. Actually, he might be in the OHL. It's always worth a look. And based on that, we also have one viewer. I'm not sure who's watching. One person on Twitch is watching. However, Hunter Jones, he played for the Petersburg Petes in the OHL. So let's get him. Speaking of which, that's another prospect that we'll have to deal with, Semyondir Ogunchuntsev. But here is Hunter Jones. I like his starter potential. I can maybe even give him the high starter, given that he was drafted in the second round, and normally goalies aren't drafted that high. And as well, since he's now in the AHL, I would say he deserves more like 73 overall. There we go, 73 overall for Hunter Jones. And now let's move him over to Minnesota, where he actually belongs. Or rather, Minnesota AHL team. So let's go to player movement. On one side of the house, we'll have the Iowa. And on the other, we have OHL. And we have his team, which was Petersburg Petes. Perfect. We get Hunter Jones. We finish it up. And there we go. Hunter Jones is now a part of the Minnesota Wild. Next up, Louis Belpedio. I'll just give him an overall buff. Nothing much. Louis Belpedio. So let's just raise his overall a little bit, as Louis Belpedio is now in the NHL, I believe. Not quite. He's still in the AHL, but he has gone brief stints in the NHL. So I would say 76 overall makes sense for Louis Belpedio. Alright, yeah, 76 overall for Louis Belpedio. He's gonna enjoy that little upgrade. And then next up, Brendan Duhame, who I can't even find, so never mind. I guess on to the next roster we go. Haha. So the next roster would be Montreal. But before that, there's other trades I wanted to make happen that I missed out on one of the days I was doing roster editing. It was some trades. Richard Panic to New York Islanders. Richard Panic. Although alright, yeah, let's just deal with the trades first, I guess. So he used to play in Washington. Richard Panic. So I should find him in Washington. Honestly, though, Richard Panic isn't even a big piece, so we'll leave him be. Aiden Hill to San Jose for Josef Coronar. Josef Coronar. No, he's a San Jose goaltender. And actually, he's only 23. Where was he before this? He was in the AHL with the San Jose Barracuda. So let's just actually edit him. San Jose Barracuda. San Jose Barracuda. Goalies, Josef Karanar. There we go. I think his potential is fine. His overall just needs a massive upgrade. As he was the backup for San Jose this year. Not that that's saying much. I'll say he's still like 76 overall. Yep, just like that, he's 76 overall. And he is going over to he's actually going over to Josef Coronar. He is going to the Coyotes. To the Coyotes. Haha. It's funny to say. So let's do that. So Joseph Corner. And I guess I could have one of their goalies. Maybe like a random goalie in the HL of Arizona, so it would be Tucson Roadrunners. So that would be a guy like Rositov or Sawchenko. I guess Sawchenko. Just like that. That's good. And then, yeah, Josef Kornar would be the HL just like that. And then the next player would be Jason Dickinson, who is now in Vancouver. Jason Dickinson, who's now in Vancouver. So let's click on that player movement screen and let's continue doing the player movement. So we have from Dallas to Vancouver. And Jason Dickinson, it was great having you, Bello, but bye-bye. Bye-bye goes Jason Dickinson. Next up, we have Ryan Ellis. Ryan Ellis, who got traded over to a team. Ryan Ellis to Philadelphia. Ryan Ellis to Philadelphia for Philippe Myers. Ryan Ellis to Philadelphia for Nolan Patrick. Nolan Patrick and Philippe Myers. Whoops! I just sent over Nolan Patrick to Vancouver by mistake. My bad. Let's get Nolan Patrick back on Philadelphia so that we can actually complete the trade, which was Philippe Myers and Nolan Patrick to Nashville. Hey Pat. Hey Pat. Are you watching on YouTube as well? No, it doesn't seem so. So Ryan Ellis over to Philadelphia. Hey Pat.
Hey,
How are you?
I can't complain.
All right. Well,
Trying to sort it out.
yeah, I'm like pretty much done all the rosters, um, except for like a few.
Sorry, what was that, bud? I didn't realize that this actually worked like a phone call. I thought it was like speakerphone, so I didn't have it up to my ear.
All right. So basically, what I was saying was, I'm like almost done the rosters, pretty much. Um,
Right on.
yeah, like I'm done like the NHL rosters, but I still have like the AHL rosters because like I plan to like create prospects and everything to like really make it
Right on.
accurate. So there's still like quite a bit of work to do, which is
Oh, no doubt. I do. Well, I found at least in my experience, the AHL does go quicker. At least, like you probably won't be changing as many people per team as you were on the big league clubs. It'll be
yeah,
like maybe a few guys on each team, maybe a few more for Providence. You might know that roster a little better, but like, do you know enough about Utica's fourth line to really change much from AHL top
yeah,
four to AHL
probably
whatever?
not. I usually don't touch the AHL too much. I mean, like big prospects and like stuff like that
Oh yeah,
is
and like that'll for sure still take you some time, but it was just nice
yeah.
to see when I jumped in. You were already working on Philly. That's nice because like the end of the league goes a lot more quickly. Once you get past all of those damn new teams, you're on the home stretch. It feels like it's very heavy on the first half of the alphabet.
Oh yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. Like, there were so many teams at the start of the alphabet that I had to like completely change the roster. Like, for example, Florida. Florida in 2019 looks so different to what they are now. So I spent like 1.5 hours on Florida alone.
I believe that, yeah.
Um, yeah, like I would even show you right after I'm done with the Brett Howden deal. I'll just send like a random player, I guess, to New York to make this work. It's also a small problem with the system is that when you're making trades and they're for picks, you can't really move picks in the NHL like in the
Okay.
game. So like,
One second.
Andrew Latte, Arizona.
Anybody? I actually have to go, man. Oh, never mind. I'm good. My wife just came home with a milkshake for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. No, I'm good. All right, I'm back.
All right. I'm trying to figure out where Andrew Ladd is so that I can do that deal. Andrew Ladd. Like,
I mean, there will be a limit to some of it. Like, you can't get all the picks to move, unfortunately. But
yeah. Yeah, I'm
good.
just like trying to make it
Transfer.
as realistic as possible, I guess. Just so that like I have some coherence. And I mean, to be fair, I was lazy with some players. Like I didn't move them. Like for example, Ilya Kovalchuk, he's no longer playing in the NHL. But for me, I kept him in Washington because, well, for one thing, I like Kovalchuk. And for another, I was quite lazy with him.
Yeah, man. Like I get that. We all want to do our own wacky things. Like my whole thing, I wanted to be somewhat realistic as far as like how I ran the team and not abuse picks, but I still stuck Kyle Wood in there, making medium top four, and switched half the league's player types.
Yeah.
So I get that. even then, every offseason I do a little bit of like I kind of play God and just shuffle lineups so there isn't a team out there starting a 72 overall goalie. Like I'll just make some weird trades with a few of my picks to. If the Kings have 6 goalies, I'll grab 2 of them and stick them on San Jose or whatever team's missing out. Just little stuff like that. So I get you. Like, as realistic as you can try to be, sometimes you need to do more of that stuff. Even like, how do you handle Tampa and Toronto with them being so over the cap?
Oh yeah, I just
Right?
sort of, I just basically let them be themselves, I guess. Like here we have Tampa's roster, really stacked. Platt, Lorne. By the way, I also created Seattle Kraken in the game, but like the thing is, for some reason it like creates like a whole duplicate team. So like you have all the players on their original teams, and then you have Seattle, like the team,
Right.
which that I created like just now yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like Mark Giordano, Aberley, Larson, all the good stuff. I made the team like yesterday for them, but the problem is it like basically duplicates of players. And like I'm not really sure. I don't exactly know how expansion in NHL20 works. So like is there any way of like getting Seattle in the game but like not removing any other team?
Yes. Now you won't, and you don't have to pick them. You can do an expansion draft and pick one of the other teams. Like we'll say Boston because I know you're a Boston fan. So say you wanted to go in as Boston, and you can still do an expansion draft and add import in Seattle, and you'll have to then pick your players to protect, which is kind of fun in its own way. But they will end up with a interesting and wacky team. Giordano will go, but they'll also have like all sorts of.
So I guess then like
interesting guys.
If I add them in that way, then they would like have an expansion draft and they would have like a whole different team than these players. So then I guess I would just import these players and get the other players back on their original team, I guess.
Yeah, like, well, if it's if your issue is it's making duplicates, like where are the original versions of the players? Are they still on their original teams? Like,
yeah.
Well, let's just say where's Giordano right now?
Giordano would still be on the Flames here. Hold on.
Okay, well then you actually don't even have to worry about that. It's like when you create a team, you have to put players on the roster, and when you make a new franchise expansion mode, it doesn't import them over. It's I was worried about that when I did this myself, and it really worked out fine. It was much easier than I had expected. Like I didn't have any duplicates myself.
Ah, I see. No, but like what I'm trying to say, I guess, is like, can I like import the team like into a franchise mode with the exact way it is, or will I have to do like an expansion draft and then sort of toy with the team and get it to the actual team I want?
So in order to have a 32nd team, I think you do have to do like a franchise with expansion draft, which is a pain. But otherwise, you do have to basically like relocate a team, for lack of a better term, or just replace it. So if you do want to get the 32 and not play as Seattle, you can, but it won't be perfect. Basically.
Okay. All right, yeah, because that's something I was basically wondering about. So I guess then I'll like have to do something once I get into franchise mode. But like that's still a long way away, as I have to make my edits. All right.
Yeah.
Honestly, though,
the other thing that
it's
will
a
happen
lengthy.
too is when you do that, adding in an expansion team, it does reset the clock to the past year's off season. So there will be an extra draft and also, but an extra offseason. There might not be many free agents around, but there will be that whole extra part, which can be fun, but just so you know ahead of time that you would still have to go through it.
Yeah, I do know that of that because of my Seattle expansion mode, which I did like 1 year ago. All right, now I'm trying to figure out. Okay, Nick Suzuki is good overall in this game. All right, that works. I'm just like going through because see, I've actually already edited every team's main roster. Right now, I'm just adding players who are like fairly new to the league, so like rookies or like second-year players. Because the truth is, I've already done like the major roster editing. As you can see, like I've done every team's actual roster editing. I'm just sort of adding their former prospects who have now cracked the NHL in the time that this roster wasn't edited.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, someone I might have to add to the game is Alexander Romanov, because I don't think he's in the game. Yeah, he's not in the game for me, because, NHL20.
Oh, right. 21 changed so little. Like, I always forget. Like, basically, you can only tell if you look at the calendar on your game early on or by the font. They change the color of the font, and that's about it.
I see.
You can also at least change player types when you're in the middle of franchise mode, which is nice.
Yeah, that's like the one really good part about NHL20 is that I can change player types whenever I want, rather than like having to do it before the franchise mode, I guess.
I found, honestly, the whole chemistry thing more gratifying. It might have been overpowered too, but I feel like it worked more consistently. I don't know.
Like,
I kind of think that it's the better version.
To be honest, I like NHL's 20 chemistry and like player how you can edit the player type. It just leads to like more flexibility,
Yeah. Honestly, the only reason to even have gone with 21 is the roster update, or I'm happy I got it because I got Rewind 94 with my version of it. But no, otherwise, it was not a worthwhile upgrade. It wasn't an upgrade at all, really. It was just
it's
a roster update.
It's a trade-off, right? Would you pay $60 for basically a roster update, or do you want to risk making your own rosters and spend like, I don't know, almost like 2.5 weeks now just roster editing? But I think it'll be
not everyone's weirdos like we are, bud.
I think it'll be well worth it for me, because it's like, at least in my opinion, right? Paying $60 for basically a roster editing, not that worth it. I'd rather spend some time doing it on my own, I guess.
I get that. And basically it was, as much as I talk up the show now, I stopped buying the game for 6 years. Like, I didn't get it from 13 until 19 came out, and it's because there was no point. Back then, I only played franchise, and nothing changed. It was good. I'd still, as sad as it is, I would put like the show 13 franchise higher than where NHL is now. But it was basically the same as 08 and 09, and even now, it's still basically the same. I just got back into the game because they gave me new reasons to get it. Whereas, like, I won't get NHL 22. I have no reason to. Unless, they actually dazzle me with something. And I don't expect they will.
Right. And, like, I guess...
Basically, 21 was an impulse buy because of that bundle.
Yeah, I suppose so. And I guess, like, part of the reason for me is that, like, I only get almost one choice of a game per year, because my parents don't want to dish out too much money on games, understandably. Um,
Yeah, of course, but
so I like to spend my time looking for games that I think are more worthwhile, I guess. And to be fair, I'm pretty happy still with NHL 20. Like, I haven't gotten tired of it or anything like that.
yes. And you know what? If you like have one a year, I wouldn't. I would definitely not recommend just getting, especially how little they change year to year. Like, why would you get 21 if you have 20 and it's the same game? Arguably, 20 is better. I think 20 is better, to be fair.
I mean, to be fair, like, NHL 20 was probably one of their best recent NHLs, at least in my mind.
Dude, 100%. I think it's the best since 14.
I usually,
as much as I dunk on the series, that was a good one for sure.
I looked at basically all the IGN reviews and also my own perception of game modes and stuff, and it felt like NHL 20, for what it's worth, actually did add quite a bit of stuff to franchise mode, albeit most of it was stuff that existed in NHL 7 that they've now brought back. But I'm really happy with NHL 20, to be honest.
My mic was off for a second there, but I can still hear you, and yeah, I agree. It's the reason I picked it up after. I didn't get a NHL game from 14 to 20, and that's why I'd play them. Or just see what little they add or change and just push on. Because, not exactly the same scenario, but I'm not looking to just... I'd get 1 or 2 games a year myself. I mean, I get the show and then usually one other thing. COVID was a little different. I got 3 that year and basically didn't play 2K at all because it was horrid this last year.
Yeah, 2K, I don't know, man. 2K standards for their games have really dropped over the years. Specifically, the last good one was 2K16. That was arguably the best of the series. Some would argue 2011 was a bit better. But in my mind...
19 was really good. I have a lot of love in me for 19. It had problems, but... It was a solid game, and
I guess it's because
the last 2 years since it's been a tough go in comparison.
For me, I never used to have 2K before 2K20, but I used to play at my cousin's house, right? Because all my cousins used to have 2K, and so the one I most prominently remember was 2K16. Because that was the one that I played on a lot, and B, it was just so good. Gameplay, graphics, everything was so good.
Oh yeah, it's kind of sad to say, but NHL's just not on the same level. Even gameplay wise, 2K has its own very unique set of problems. Where its gameplay gets very bad when
very cheesy.
It's bad on a competitive level. It can be a lot of fun playing against the computer, or playing against other people when you agree not to just abuse the same 3 animations. But that being said, there's at least everything's a little different. You get more variance. I feel like NHL, McDavid, the AI McDavid will play exactly the same as AI Tyler mod, basically, outside of how much they throw the body. There's no difference.
I get your point, but that was kind of an extreme analogy. It's more so you can't tell the difference between Stamkos, Tarasenko, McDavid. You can't tell the difference between star players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need everyone to have a specifically unique animation, but you can even tell with the ratings. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck? Why is the difference between all these players like 2 in puck control? It doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything.
Yeah,
What's
for
91
sure.
compared to 93?
That's actually
Somebody
one
goes
thing I
in real life
really
has a good glove.
That's
It's a
one
good
thing I
glove.
really hate about NHL is how close everyone's ratings are, right? Like, I mean, I don't know about other sports games, but I feel like at least in the older versions of 2K, there were some players who were at the bottom of the league who were like 50 overall. Um, and then you had, of course, LeBron James, who used to be 99 overall. And it's just that allowed some more variance. Whereas like almost every player in NHL is like 70 plus overall, like 75 plus overall for NHL teams. And like the highest is of course McDavid, 95 overall. Which is like
Right. So I mean, basically, higher league as far as playable dudes, we'll be generous and say it's 78. I mean, you'll see some guys lower than that, but give it 2 seasons, every team's basically 78s and higher. So the whole league is within a range of 17 overall. That's absurd.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely
Every
agree
other
with you
sports
there.
game, you'll see guys in like the 60s on occasion. All the other, even Madden's, I think, a little better in some ways. Whereas, mind you, I haven't bought my own Madden game since Madden 12. So NHL at least is a game I want to play more. But man, I wish they got some of that extra attention and love.
Yeah.
It's sad knowing what it could be and seeing what everyone else has. And I just want that in my hockey game, you know? I don't need anything new. Just give me what the other sports already get.
I mean, the truth is, though, Madden has like a number of other problems. Like, it just feels like EA doesn't. EA does not care anymore. They simply don't care about what game they produce, like how good the game is. They don't really care.
Especially for us franchise players, it's just not. It's not made for us. They're trying to sell it as an online game, usually the card modes. 2K also implements their My Player thing, and I mean, the show you kind of saw this year tried to do that. Didn't really work. No one's happy with the changes they made throughout to the show. I'm sure they'll go back. But unfortunately, that's what kind of killed franchise. You can really trace it back. All these companies started card modes between like 2011 and 2014. That's when all the franchise modes started to stop being good. I think NHL was one of the last ones on the HUT was one of the last to the party, and 14 is the last game everyone really, really liked. And I think 20 is the closest anyone's liked one since, and it's just because it's almost back to the level the game was 6 years earlier. That's sad.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Here we are creating Jesse Ylonen. Sorry, I can't pronounce his name, but Ylonen. Another prospect for Canadians. They've got a nice, bright future. Not to mention how they had that Cinderella run to the Cup Finals this year.
Hey, buddy, I think I'm gonna have to go, brother.
All right, man.
Pleasure as always.
Pleasure.
And, best of luck on the continued editing. And looking forward to the finished product.
Yeah, I'm probably actually. Do you want to stay for a couple of minutes? I'm planning to wrap up the stream after I create Jesse Ylonen anyway.
Yeah, sure. Stick around for a couple.
Yeah, because basically, it's just nice, I guess, to talk to other people while I stream in a very lengthy process, sort of tedious process.
I get you, man. It's like anything that's a sort of grind like this. It's good to have something else to just sort of break up the monotony, if nothing else.
And also, I only usually play 1 hour, so I'm pretty much reaching the end of the stream anyway. So I'll just create Jesse Ylonen, and then we'll be done for today.
Word.
Shoots right.
You know what? It's I feel like I kept repeating about my NHL ones how I spent like 7 hours, but that is not even close to the worst I had done. I think it was actually 2K16. I just went crazy making one roster, and I was on for days.
Yeah.
Like long stints of it. So I understand what you're going through.
No, it's just that
But in the end, I was happy with it. Just make sure you double save every time.
I guess it's like also partially my fault because, well, to be fair, I didn't edit this roster while I had the opportunity to, like, again and again. Like, while my franchise mode was going, I never even looked at the roster editing. And so now I'm basically trying to edit rosters from 2 years back, essentially. Not 2 years, but like 1.5 years minimum. And so, yeah, understandably, that takes a lot of time. So the lesson I learned basically is that from now on, I will like continue editing small or like big changes to my roster editing in between franchise modes as well.
That's a smart idea. I wish I would have thought of that. Because I've been stuck in the same place where you just stick to one franchise, and when you're done, it's like, oh, I guess I'm just going to spend a week on this roster.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking I'll prevent next time, after my next franchise mode, because I'll like do roster editing in between so that my rosters aren't like too far back. Especially because right now it's free agency, right? So if I end up doing the franchise mode before free agency and like before the whole offseason extravaganza ends, my rosters are going to be really behind by the time I end the franchise mode. And then I would have to get into this whole roster editing spiel again.
Right? Oh, yeah. Like, especially with free agency, it'll be good to stay on top of it.
Yep, for sure. All right. Almost done.
The other thing is free agency, like, there's a few holdouts, but most of it's done in the first week. Like, you have an idea where 90% of the guys have gone.
But like also we have the added spice of Seattle Kraken joining the league this year. So draft day, I think, will be a big event this year especially.
It'll be interesting to see, for sure.
Seattle didn't make any, like, not many deals, side deals, as unexpected. I mean, so, like, I'm expecting quite a bit of action on draft day, to be honest.
It could be. I mean, I still kind of like what they did. To me, it wouldn't have made sense to basically just get all these expensive contracts that other teams were okay giving away. And the more news that came out, like, about Price and Tarasenko and their no movement clauses, I don't know if I'm Seattle if I wanted to be stuck with either of those guys. Both amazing players, but there's a reason their teams were okay with losing them.
Yeah, no, like, I'm fine with the Seattle Kraken expansion draft. I guess it's just recency bias that everyone is now, like, calling the draft bad. Because it's like, we've just seen one of the best expansion teams ever in Vegas, right? So it's like everyone expects Seattle to, like, be good right off the bat, but I don't think that's going to happen. Of course, there's free agency and draft, and to be fair, they have $30 million in cap space, so I think their draft, for what it's worth, was relatively smart. A few questionable picks, but I think their draft was all right.
Even then, like, they had to reach a certain cap number. I think it was $55 million they had to pick up in the expansion draft. So that's where, like, Giordano makes even more sense. He's only getting paid for one more year, and then that's like 6-7 million more off the books for next year's free agency. Like I like how they've just given themselves all of the space in the world to choose from, like this full group that'll be in free agency. Like and even trades. Like we've seen with the Lad deal, what teams are willing to give up, just open up some cap space, so they can kind of bully people if they want. They could also just be a normal expansion team and be kind of crappy for a couple seasons. But like Vegas kind of surprised everyone.
Yeah. All right.
And at
Well,
the time, I mean, people weren't loving those Vegas picks. They just looked really good after the fact.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, no one expected Vegas to be a playoff team when the expansion draft occurred. Well, I mean, I thought they would maybe make it, but I never expected them to be like so good right off the bat as they were. And like, I guess now, after the fact that we've seen how Vegas is, we all sort of expected, Seattle to pull off similar theatrics, but I mean, it's up to them really, because they have the cap space where they can sort of choose the future of the team. Like they can decide to sign some big free agents and contend, or they can stand pat, be bad for a couple of seasons, stock up on them draft picks, and then just plan for the long term.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I created Jesse Ylonen, so I think that's good for today. So like, if you're not in a rush, I could show you like all the rosters currently, just quickly, just like scroll fast. But if not, I can show you them tomorrow.
Maybe. Well, if not, I'm getting my second shot tomorrow. So if I'm not unconscious, tomorrow probably works.
All right.
Also, I'm home all weekend, and the wife works, so I'll be much more around for all the streams and goodness.
Yeah, and I mean, no problem. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a small streamer. I don't really mind who comes, who doesn't. It's just fun, to have people I actually know.
Oh, dude, I get it. No, that's why I'm glad you tell me, because I do like to come when I can. I know you get it. I can't make it all the time. I can't make all of Data's. I know you guys can't make all of mine. Wouldn't expect it, but I like to be there when I can.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap up the stream for right now.
Word. All right. Pleasure as always, my man. You have a good one.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Take care, bud.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.